filed complaints, there was an adjustment. If they went directly to the company, at various times they had different refund policies for a period of time. And again, Intelius was not making the refunds on the adaptive marketing product. That was being done by Vertru. So if someone complained to Intelius, which is why Intelius was sensitive to the numbers of complaints, they didn't want to deal with complaints that weren't their own. So as a consequence, you had these people being basically funneled off to adaptive marketing, where they got, in some cases, a very poor response. I mean, they had to be on hold. There were other issues involved. What would happen is that they got 1 month of refund by the CSR, the customer service rep, was authorized to give up to 1 month of refund. So if somebody had discovered this 6 months in, or in some cases we have as much as a year in, they got 1 month. If they, quote, escalated, they got 2 months. They played with this policy over time, and of course, from the beginning of our investigation to the present time, it's changed quite a bit. And of course, now they're insisting that, oh no, they can get it all back if they want. How that works out as far as adaptive is concerned, I don't presently know. But as far as Intelius is concerned, Intelius was making refunds on their product, but as far as adaptive marketing, they were not. So they were never in a position to make those kinds of refunds.
Mr. McKenna, this settlement targets one company, but obviously there are smaller, probably less notorious companies out there that are doing the exact same thing to this day. Why isn't this against the law when it's so clearly meant to confuse consumers?
Well, it is against the law to engage in unfair and deceptive practices. What we have to be able to show is that a particular practice like this is unfair, is deceptive under the Consumer Protection Act. We have to have the evidence that consumers are being affected, evidence that shows indeed they are confused and misled, and then we can go after them under the Consumer Protection Act. You're right, there are smaller, less notorious companies engaged in similar practices. There are also larger, more notorious companies still engaging in these practices, and there are other investigations underway, not only by our state, this Attorney General's office, but by other states and their Attorneys General offices as well. So you'll be hearing more about this as we go forward. This also, as I mentioned, has the attention of some in Congress who are very concerned about it. So I would imagine that Congress will be moving to try to strengthen our nation's consumer protection laws to protect consumers, but also to give those of us on the enforcement side more tools.
Does the settlement protect Naveen Jain and Intelius and anyone else at the company from either further lawsuits or criminal prosecution with regard to Intelius in this state?
No, this settlement has nothing to do with criminal prosecution. We're not a criminal prosecution shop, so that wouldn't be in our purview anyway. It does not affect directly class action lawsuits that are underway either.
So given the $62 million that Intelius made from identity protection, do they basically keep all that as profit, separate from the $1.3 million settlement?
The amount that they're paying is $1.3 million. You know, we extrapolated the $62 million figure from data we collected from them. That's not a bottom line figure we saw from them. It's one that we extrapolate as a potential up to figure. So that amount is money that they have because there were disclosures on the screen. So this is the settlement that we've reached because our primary goal here, our number one goal, is to obtain the injunctive relief that this settlement embodies. In other words, as with all consumer protection settlements, our number one goal is to stop the bad behavior, to prevent it from happening in the future, to protect future consumers. And we achieve that with this settlement. If you go on to peoplelookup.com today and look, you will not find these $10 back offers, these fake questionnaires, etc. At least I didn't see them when I went and looked earlier today. So that is our number one goal. And to do that without having to go through litigation is a really substantial accomplishment.
And we saw those numbers that said that people were agreeing to this in less than a minute. So given that, what's your advice to consumers?
The advice is to be very wary of any offers that purport to give you money back as soon as you sign up for something else. And you might especially call into question a $10 back offer when you just spent $1.95. And follow the rule that if it seems too good to be true, it almost certainly is.
What would you like to see happen to Intelius?
I would like to see them continue to do business as a company that treats their customers fairly and openly in a non-deceptive fashion. that makes its money off of selling people real products with real value added, which I think they do when they offer a people lookup search, et cetera. That's fine. What I don't want them to do, and what they've agreed to stop doing, is working with companies like Vertru, which engage in deceptive practices routinely. And Intelius is not the only company that's been tied up with Vertru. Focus on offering real products for real value at a stated price with all the terms be transparent. That's the way business is supposed to be done.